Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of How to Get Away with Staffing. My name is Colin LeBeau, president of Foxhire, an employer of record service here in the U.S., and I've got Nate Capel, our resident marketeer, here to talk about branding. What's
Hello,
up?
everyone. Good, man. How you doing?
Good, good.
Good.
Thanks for being here and talking about some marketing stuff. I think for those that don't know Nate, it'd be cool to hear your story a little bit about how you got into marketing. So, where are you coming from in the marketing world?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So my background, growing up, I had a knack for creating things. So I went to Full Sail University for digital arts and design. And quickly afterwards realized that designers have a pretty limited career trajectory. And then I had a desire to keep learning things. And so I decided to capitalize on that with marketing. And I started interning for Patriot Software, and then eventually joined a marketing agency, and so on and so forth. And I ended up landing here in Foxhire.
Cool,
Uh,
that's awesome. And with your work with the marketing agency, like what types of clients did you typically work with?
oh, for that sort of marketing, I was involved in the search engine optimization portion of it. So in that agency, it was a catch-all. We did a little bit of everything, but for my portion, it was search engine optimization, and Google kept me employed basically. So it was fun.
What type of companies did you work with when you were there, though?
Uh, that agency has seemed to specialize in a lot of manufacturing, a lot of logistical, plastic type companies, plastic injection molding, and some crane operators and different things like that. I'm not sure they were trying to target that, but that's just kind of what they had.
Cool. Yeah, well, a lot of those industries are very commoditized, and there's a lot of different players in those industries. And I think the same can be said for the staffing industry, right? There's like a lot of staffing and recruiting agencies that exist out there, and they're all really offering the same thing, right? They're finding
Oh
people
yeah,
for jobs, right? Like when it comes
absolutely.
down to it, that's what you do. So the topic we wanted to talk about today was branding. And branding is really how you differentiate yourself from a lot of your competitors when you're offering a commoditized solution. So I think for a lot of people, branding and marketing go together. They're like, yeah, same thing, whatever. But branding and marketing are not the same thing. They're different. So I'd love to hear from your perspective. How is branding different than marketing?
I love the topic of branding so much because it gets down to the original story of a company. The brand is about the heart and soul and essence of it could be a person like yourself, it could be a product or the overarching company. It's the answer to the question of why it exists, right? So that's what the brand is. It's the blood that runs through the company's veins. Branding then turns that into a tangible thing. And this is where marketing comes in. So if that's all done right, then marketing is trying to convince people of why they should care, right? Like why they should care. So
Yeah.
if you have that all nailed down, marketing is super easy, but it's not. So if you don't have your branding correct, marketing can then just be super difficult. And most everybody uses marketing as a way to get products in people's faces. And they start with the end in mind because that's really the end thing. You ever feel like, Colin, that you ever feel like a company only cares about the bottom line? Like, you know what I mean? Do you
Yeah, I
ever?
mean, you go into a sales conversation or you buy something from a store and, there's no care for your experience or your feedback from for their solution, things like that. So I've definitely had that experience before.
Yeah. And as a salesperson, I mean, or a prior salesperson, I should say, uh, it was probably easier to sell people when you had them emotionally, right? When you had a story behind your product.
Yeah, I've heard this said, and I think it's true, right? People don't make logical decisions and then justify them with emotions. It's the reverse. people make emotional decisions and justify them with the facts that they think align with that emotion, right?
Yeah.
So, more simply put, like people buy stuff from who they like and respect and trust.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah,
Yeah.
man, I feel like there needs to be a lot of those things like respect and trust in a relationship with a staffing agency or recruiting agency, which a lot of our customers happen to be those types of organizations. So a good way to learn about how to brand yourself or put this in perspective for those that might be thinking about their brand or maybe some stories that other organizations you've worked with have had. So would love to hear any branding stories that come to mind for you that you think would be interesting to share.
Well, my experience with brand, I haven't had a whole lot of experience with branding a bunch of companies. I've been able to do a couple here and there.
Yeah.
Foxhire's brand being one, right? I made the logo. I was able to help steer in the early stages of the rebrand, from Top Echelon Contracting to Foxhire. I've made logos for a handful of companies, including Top Echelon's current one, right? Their rebrand of the more modern looking pyramid. Patriot Software when I was interning. Uh, in terms of helping their why, I was kind of in the early stages of that, trying to help identify their core values, their core purpose, things like that. So, I was part of that process too before I left. And then they since then have taken it and spun it out into a whole, new logo, new look, different messaging and things like that. So it's pretty cool to see what they've done. Have you heard their new logo or their new tagline?
I have not. What is it?
It's American businesses make it happen.
Cool.
And let me tell you, because you have to really sit on this one for a second. It's really cool for a number of reasons. American businesses make it happen. It's Patriot Software, right? They're a patriot of what America is doing. And American businesses, I mean, when you really think about it, American businesses are the backbone of America. American businesses make it happen. It's an explanation, but it's also command. If you put a comma there, American businesses make it happen,
Yeah.
right? Right. It could be a command too. It's pretty cool. It's a
Yeah.
nice tagline.
No, that is cool. Yeah, I think I mean, the name Patriot obviously aligns with the American focus of the organization. So I think that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
oh my bad. So when you're involved in some like projects like this, right? Like let's say you weren't, but let's say you were part of the Patriot team that built this new brand identity, right? What are the things that go into developing a brand? Like, what do you need to be thinking about, right? So, if I'm a staffing firm owner and I'm looking around my competitive marketplace and seeing everybody saying the same stuff, how can I think about starting to define my brand for the first time, right? Or improve it? What are the things that go into it?
Well, if you think of some of the elements of a brand, you think of, okay, got your tagline and your core values and your mission statement and all that, and your USP and all that stuff. But really, that breaks down to some core fundamentals. You ever hear of Simon Sinek,
Yeah.
his why, how, what? Yeah, you knew I was going to bring this
That's
up,
a
didn't
good
you?
YouTube search just for everybody. Go search up Simon Sinek, start with why. It's a really strong YouTube search. And just, I think it's maybe 7 minutes long. It's a great place to start thinking about your brand for sure.
Absolutely. And so when you think about why, how, what, it's the progression of how you came up to the product. And a lot of people already have their product. When they start thinking of their brand, they already have their product in mind. So it's trying to backtrack and figure out how how you began, right? So you want to start with why. So when you start with why you started your company, you think of your core values, right? What do you stand for? You think of your purpose, right? Why did you start the company? And you can get there by asking why your product is important 5 times, right? And when you think of it in that way, it gets pretty easy to identify your purpose. And then you also think of like a goal, right? In the future. So I want to change this about the world, or I want to incorporate this in our culture or something.
Right.
I got the lights turned off for some reason. Hold on.
What are you doing in there?
Oh, there we go. Okay.
You just got to move. You're too still.
I guess I am.
They thought you weren't working.
So, and then, so you have your why, then you do your how, right? And your how is your mission, your promise to people, and your tagline, right? It's how you're going to achieve that goal, your core purpose, how you're going to achieve it. And then your what is the end result. It's your product,
Yep.
right? So if you can identify those core principles, your value, purpose, and envision future or your goal, your BHAG, and then you can then identify
Wait,
your mission,
pause.
your promise. Sorry, go
BHAG.
ahead.
What is BHAG? So for those, I know what it is, but for those that don't, what's BHAG?
I think it was. I think I can attribute this to Harvard. I didn't go to Harvard, but they've written some articles on it. It's big, hairy, audacious goal, BHAG,
Yeah.
right? And basically, you just want an unobtainable goal. You want something so big you can't obtain it, but you're always striving for it. That's the goal. Right?
Gotcha.
That's what BHAG means.
Yep.
So then following that, you have your how, which is your mission statement, your promise statement, and your tagline. Those are pretty self-explanatory, but they have their nitty-gritties on how you get there and the rules that you have to try to follow to have a good one, right? And then afterwards, you have your what, and that's just your product or your service.
Yeah. So going back to the why, though, I think that's, your point in going through and focusing on the why and going to look at Simon Sinek and all that, I think is important because that's like the basis of everything, right? And so I think for recruiting agency owners and staffing firm professionals, like it's a pretty cool why that you could have theoretically if you're in the business for the right reasons, like you want to help people get jobs. That's cool. Like, I think that's pretty cool. Like, I think a lot of people, especially salespeople, will say, I love helping people, I love helping people. That's the best. And selling some solutions and services aren't as easily connected to helping people as others. But this one, staffing and recruiting, is very much so connected. And both sides of the deal are connected to helping people, right? You're helping a company get a really good employee that they couldn't find otherwise, and you're helping a person get a job that they wouldn't have had otherwise, that they really want, right? Which I think is really cool, and it feels good. Like, it's just something everybody can get behind.
Yeah,
there's a
absolutely.
strong why there. It's just defining it for yourself.
That's the hardest part and you kind of have like an essence of what it is, but to articulate it and get it into a sentence is almost impossible. You can even have a personal brand. I did this for myself. A lot of people try to identify what is my purpose, right? What is the thing that I love to do? Who am I, right? Well, it goes back to Socrates, and this is great for a business too. It's know thyself, right? And you really can't run a business unless you know why you're running this business. He also, Socrates said something like, an unexamined life is not worth living, or something like that, right? An unexamined life is not worth living. And I'd dare to say, in a similar way, an unexamined brand is not worth knowing, right?
Oh,
so
an unexamined brand is not worth knowing. Expand upon that, please.
Expand.
Yes, please.
So an unidentified brand. So if you haven't taken time to identify and get into the minutia of your brand and of your brand's why it exists, why would anybody else care? Why is it worth knowing? That's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
So it's really important to know that why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like people aren't interesting until they go through tough times and examine themselves and prove who they are, right? In a lot of cases, right? Like, the most interesting people have always, not always, but for the most part, have had like very difficult things to go through, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting to talk to them about how that happened. And a lot of times they end up on the other side and some amazing story of triumph or whatever. But, it sounds like the same goes for a company, right? Like, if there's no strong brand origination story, then perhaps the brand isn't really interesting.
That's right. To pull people in, when you think of big brands, like really good ones, what do you think of? You think of like Apple, Nike. Those are like two very common ones for marketers to use as brands, but for good reason, right? You think of, and Simon Sinek uses Apple as one of his examples, but it's think different, is the tagline,
Mhm.
right? But that's their reason for being originally. I mean, I don't know about today, but originally it was innovation. We don't care what the cost, we're going to innovate. We're going to think different than anybody else, right? We're going to be ahead of the curve. Nike, it's about honoring the athletes, honoring the human body, right? Just do it, right? It's because you can, right? Just do it. You're capable, right?
Mhm.
Um, so you, it really pushes a message forward, having a good brand, right? And a lot of people, when they think of a brand, they think of just the colors, the pictures, how you feel, no, no, no. It's about that background, that story,
Yeah. So, I
that,
mean, I think that's really cool because a lot of times staffing and recruiting agencies are very small, right? Like they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 employees, right? So it's a very small team and those people are the brand. And so I think for, the staffing firm owners that are watching this, um, what is your story, right? Like you are the brand. So to your point, Nate, personal brand is almost as important or more important than the brand of your organization because you are the brand, you are the product. And don't be shy, right? Like tap into those stories. Why are you in your seat? Why are you calling all of these candidates or why are you, servicing all of these clients? What started that? Like what made you feel compelled to do that? Right? Tap into that, share that information.
and it's much deeper than, well, I'm in it to make money. It's like, no, 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 no. No. Why did you choose this industry? Why did you choose these people to work with? Right? Like what gets you up in the morning besides making money?
Right.
That's because I think it's too easy. It's too easy of an answer. This is it's a difficult task, to figure out what your why is. So
Yeah, it is
uh,
hard. Like putting that on paper and writing it out is difficult. Like, so it's not something you slap together, jump on Canva and throw up some pictures and oh, I'm recruiting. Like that might be good to get started, but you really got to establish yourself, especially in an industry that is competitive. How are you going to be different from everyone else?
yeah,
Communicate that, define that.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What
And
else
you can
goes into
get,
it? What else
what's
goes into
that?
it?
Well, so there's other like little techniques that you can do, like brand archetypes.
Hmm.
You can figure out. So there's 12. Carl Jung set a set of traits, I think back in like the 1900s or something. You can be like a creator, a jester, a magician, a hero, or the everyman. I think most companies fall into the everyman, or the regular guy.
Yeah.
Um, do you know which one Foxhire is?
Um, the
Because
magician.
I helped make the brand. Do you know
You
which one
tell me.
Foxhire is?
You tell me.
Foxhire is the magician.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, did you say that?
I said it, and then you said, yeah, yeah. I said magician. And I probably under my breath though, because I was like,
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't hear that.
but I knew it was magician. Come on.
Yeah. So, the reason why we chose that is because we're creating software at Foxhire about something a really difficult subject. Where you have to be compliant in all 50 states. It's payroll and accounting and onboarding and HR. It's a really difficult and complex thing. And so you're taking something super impossible and making it possible, right?
Yeah.
And it's magic, right? It's the whimsy of what we do that makes us the magician.
Yeah. It reminds me of like TurboTax, right? Like that's
Yeah.
magically simple for taxes, which is looked at as like so difficult and hard, and like everybody dreads doing it.
So difficult, so hard. And boy, I can't wait till our user experience at some point gets to that point, but someday it will. It
Yeah.
will. TurboTax is super easy. And this is not an ad, but still. They're not sponsoring this yet. Feel free to. It's okay.
No, no, we're sponsoring this. Foxhire sponsoring this.
That's right. Anyway. Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
In your personal life, which one of the 12 archetypes do you think you are? Have you thought about this?
Well, I don't know the definition of every one.
Yeah, you have to like kind of look through it. If you just had to take a guess, a stab at it, I'll tell you mine. I think
Yeah.
I am somewhere between the innocent and the explorer. The explorer being somebody who's very adventurous, likes new things, likes to learn. And then the innocent being just the happy-go-lucky guy, right? Somebody who's loyal, somebody who's kind of a little bit of everything, caretaker, but he's just innocent. If I had to be,
Aw,
I
aw.
know, I I took a test one time about personal brand and archetypes and stuff, and I think I landed somewhere between, at the time, the explorer, the innocent, and then the everyman. But again,
What
everybody's
does
an
the
everyman.
jester mean?
Somebody who's a joker, like somebody who just
Hmm.
like has
The
fun.
class clown?
Right, right. You think of like
Gotcha.
in terms of companies, you can think of like Squatty Potty, right?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
They make fun of themselves. It's kind of a goofy subject and they know
Like,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I get you. I get you. Like dude
Yeah.
boys.
Right, right, exactly. Right. That'd
Okay,
be a
okay.
Jester brand.
What about the ruler? What's the ruler brand?
Mm. Ruler brand would be, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head.
I mean, they
Uh
come to me as like Budweiser, the king of beers.
yeah, Crown Royal. So yeah, some of those ones that are like,
We're the
yes, we are
best.
the
We're the
the
best.
best. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me think of another one. Oh gosh, I might have to Google it. Ask me another one.
Okay, what about the lover brand?
Gosh, you have all the dating websites that you could choose from. The
Yeah.
lover. Uh,
Uh,
what?
well, I'm thinking more, I thought it was more like a brand archetype that is like you work with that company and you feel like you're getting a hug. You know what I mean? Is that
That's true. That's
like a
true.
Cinnabon, you know? Oh, Cinnabon. Yeah.
Well, I think the archetype is less about how the audience feels and more about what they think the company represents,
Mm,
right? Right.
okay,
So,
okay.
because again, Fox hires the magician. But the people feel like they're a product, like that our product is magical.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Got,
mean?
gotcha. Okay, okay. Um,
Yeah. Oh, I thought of one for ruler. Rolex.
yeah.
Rolex would be a one for ruler, right? I
Not a
think that's a good
Rolex.
one.
Not a Rolex.
Not
One
right.
day. One day.
One
Okay.
day.
What about Hero?
Hero in terms of companies. Hmm. I think a lot of people want to be hero, but they're not. Uh,
Ooh,
Actually, Nike's a good
fighting
one who'd
words.
be. I know, right? I think everybody wants to be a hero, but they're not really. They fall into a different category. Nike would be a hero, because they're striving for something. Who else would be a hero?
So hero brand is like striving for something that's greater than itself.
Right. The
Like if I
Marines.
like Toms, like if I wear Toms, I'm like, I'm wearing Toms because I'm striving for helping people,
Change.
you know?
Right. The Marines would be a hero, right?
Gotcha.
Because they're a bunch of heroes.
Gotcha.
Um, I think FedEx tries to brand themselves as a hero. I think they want to, they're pushing for something. BMW
That'd be interesting.
might be a hero.
I think that'd be interesting for staffing industry, like, a hero for your clients, finding them talent when they need it, like good
Yeah.
people, that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That I think picking an archetype would help you set the
Yeah.
tone for what you want to be to your audience.
Mhm. Yeah, because you are offering sort of like a hero service, right? Like something that people find very difficult that they can't do themselves. You come in the nick of time, find the best candidate, get them a job. Like on both sides of that equation, you're a hero in that sense. So that might be an interesting brand archetype for those that want to lean into, super recruiter type like mindset.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. What about the sage? What is the sage? Like it's like a wise.
Yeah. It's kind of somebody who knows a lot, right? Somebody who could be a news network, or it could be um Google would be a sage, I guess. The Discovery Channel would be a sage. Maybe somebody who provides some wisdom to you,
Like a
lifelong
lot of
learners.
accounting firms probably have like a sage brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trusted, experienced,
That's right.
longevity,
Intelligence.
all of those type of value
Yeah.
prop. Yeah.
Speaking of Simon Sinek, he would probably be a sage, right?
Oh,
TED Talks would be a sage.
I find him as more as a rebel.
Oh yeah,
Simon Sinek's more of a rebel. Yeah, like he's like,
going against the grain.
well, he's going against the human like tendency to, fall into your own personal failings and like do what everybody else does. He's trying to teach you think differently and be more deliberate with how you do certain things.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's trying to coach you to do things differently and think differently than everybody else in your industry or on a certain topic. And he has reasons as to why, and he sort of like calls out specific human tendencies that are counterproductive, and he wants you to like change that and like rebel against that.
That's a good,
For a good reason, though.
yeah, that's a good observation. I'm down with that.
I mean, if you're not branding that way, maybe you should, Simon. I don't know.
I know, shout out to Simon Sinek. Did you think of one for yourself?
I don't, I think for me, Explorer, I feel like, okay, Explorer feels good, to me.
It's kind of humbling. It's a little humbling.
I don't resonate with any of these other ones personally, but I think we have to get deeper into the list of archetypes to really feel like, but self-awareness, I would love to hear what you think.
What I think of you?
Together. Don't hurt me, but tell me.
Well, you're really okay. I'll tell you your qualities. You're a great leader. You do a good job of leading teams.
This is not an ad.
I think it's in your DNA. For anybody who doesn't know Colin, he used to help coach a football team. He's been to different companies, coaching different teams and things like that. He's very good at working on people's personal development. So with that said, I would say either don't hurt me.
Don't hurt me.
Either the ruler, either the ruler, the explorer, or the caregiver, because it's all about it's all about nurturing another person, right? You're really good at caring for other people, nurturing other people, but at the same time leading those people. So it's maybe somewhere between a caregiver and a ruler.
That's an interesting thought. Like go through this exercise,
Yeah.
I think it's really helpful for people to go through this exercise themselves and think about how they can use this for their, for their brands and stuff like that.
Absolutely. It's humbling because you're kind of like, I don't fit into any of these, but there's only 12, right? You're like, I'm a little bit of everything, but you have to pick one.
Who came up with these archetypes? Who is this from again?
Carl Jung.
Carl Jung.
Yeah. With a J, but it's pronounced with a Y. Carl Jung.
J-U-N-G. For those that want to look it up, the 12 archetypes, Carl Jung with a J.
Yeah, it's only been around for, I don't know, maybe 100 years or so, maybe a little less. But there's plenty of books about it, the archetypes and where you fit in as a person, where your company fits in, where your product fits in, because product sometimes can have a different feel than what your brand is, than what your company brand is. So sometimes products will have their own brands with larger companies. Things like that.
Yeah, you have different brands underneath of a larger company for sure.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That happens a lot in like the CPG market, the consumer products goods that you buy at like Walmart or whatever. There's a big company conglomerate that makes, certain, food products or whatever, like Heinz has its own brand for the ketchup versus the mustard versus the relish, like,
right.
Or, the company that makes Lysol also makes some other product or whatever. Different brands for different products.
Absolutely. The most important things that people think about when working with a brand, should think about, it really should start with the core purpose of a brand. The core purpose of a brand, coming back to the why of things, because we can talk about archetypes all day. It's really fun. It's the colorful side of the branding stuff. but to kind of bring it all back to the why does an explorer set out? Why does a caregiver begin to take care of people? Right? Why does the outlaw is one of them, or the rebel? Why are they rebelling?
Rebel against the status quo.
Right. Right. What's their why? And so again, to bring it back from a simpler thing to something way more complex as to why, is the core purpose. And really any brand should start with their core values and core purpose. So to get to a core purpose, I'll just go through this really quick because I know we're probably running out of time. Defining a core purpose is one of the first major steps to coming up with a memorable brand. Sorry, I can't articulate sometimes.
Get it out.
But to find that core purpose, you want to start with a descriptive statement like, we make X products or we deliver X services, right? And then once you have that, then you say, why is that important? And write it down on paper and do this 5 times. And before you get to 5, you'll probably figure it out.
5 different versions.
Well, say, we do this, we make X services. Why is that important? Well, it's important because of this. Why? Why is that important?
Gotcha.
Well, that's important because our customers need that. Oh, well, why is that important? Right. And then once you start, you'll start finding it. It's really hard. It's really difficult. You probably won't get to 5, but maybe around 3, you'll start understanding, oh, that is our purpose. That's why we exist as a company. And then you don't have to tell people your core purpose. You can, but really people should feel it in the product.
Yeah, feel it in the brand.
People should feel it in the brand, in the product, how you treat the people. Because once you have this down, this isn't just for your customers, it's for your employees too. In the office, when you're those core values and that core purpose follows everybody. I'll give you an example. I used to work for the National Inventors Hall of Fame. Loved it. It was a great job. But when you walk through that building, through and around your coworkers, there's a pride that came with working for a cause. We all knew the why we were there. We all knew together collectively what we were aiming to achieve. And it created an energy that otherwise probably wouldn't have been there when you have that why,
Yeah,
that rally.
Rallying around a common cause.
That's right. That's right. So anyway, that's what makes a great company. And you'll see that in other companies out there.
Yeah. So don't be just any company, be a company with a mission, with a why, and then that can sort of spark everything else. So it's not the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. And then feel free to get into all the colors and the color theory and the logo and stuff. But actually I'll get into this too. When you think of like a logo, that logo should have a feeling of what that brand represents. So like this Foxfire logo, this one that I made it something easy to look at, right? It's not big, it's not bold, but it's a little creative and a little, it's easy to read. It's easy to look at. It stands out from the competitors, but like in an easy way. It's lowercase letters, the spacing is far apart. You have big bold letters so people can read it, right? It's, so a lot of this stuff, like we want things to be easy in our company. We want things to be magical. Well, this kind of describes easy. It describes whimsical almost because it has that little tail swoosh. It's like in the details,
Yeah.
So,
So
stuff like that.
Why, guys, if you're a staffing recruiting agency or you're struggling to define your brand amongst your competitors, or you're just trying to get your brand a little bit better, define that why, and then that can sort of permeate everything else. I think that's the main takeaway I got from today.
Yeah,
cool.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And if you guys found that valuable, please, subscribe, come back next time. And we'll see you next time. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.